in seasonally determining the best size of lure, because from what I have seen in my own fishing, you have a lot of variables involved, like water temperature and water clarity and the length of the daylight hours determine the size of the bait or the size of the lure that the fish are going to strike better. And I don't really understand the mechanisms behind this. It probably has something to do with like the size of the forage base in the lake, size of the crawdads, size of the shads, size of the perch at different times of the year. That's probably the best indicator with that. But one of the things about that, let's start out in the winter time of the year, and then we'll move up all the way through the year. One of the things you're going to find out about in the winter time is when that water temperature is cold, like it's when it's in the 40s. Usually anywhere between December into early March, something like that. Bass prefer smaller lures. And when I'm talking about smaller lures, I'm talking about, the small swim baits, like the, 3-inch swim baits, 2.5 to 3-inch swim baits, small jerk baits, like more of a finesse type of a jerk bait. Like, I use that Megabass X Nanahan 75 a lot. Smaller spoons, like a 1/4-ounce spoon, little ice jigs, just downsized presentations. Even with an Alabama rig, the little swim baits on there, there's something about the cold water in correlation with the size of the bait fish and everything that are the primary forage and the metabolism of the fish. They just prefer smaller lures. You get a lot more bites with smaller lures. Now, this begins to change a little bit as you get into really about the first part of March, as usually starts changing a little bit. Once that water temperature starts knocking on 50 degrees, and you start, or it does, depending upon what part of the country you're in, once that water temperature starts getting about 5 degrees above its bottomed out temperature. So let's say, for example, where you fish, if the water temperature, the lowest it gets is 44, 45 degrees. Once that water temperature starts reaching 49, 50, 51 degrees, you're going to see a big shift in the preference of a bass, and they're going to start wanting larger lures. Now, from my experience, is the bass want the largest lures of the entire year, for the most part, when the water temperature is in the 50s. When the water temperature is in the 50s, that's when you have more female bass up shallow and staging for pre-spawn activities, and they'll go after bigger baits. Your larger full-size jigs, the big, like the 3-inch long square bills, big spinner baits like 3/4, 1-ounce spinner baits, big full-size chatterbait, just those larger baits like that. They really, really like them that time of year, and this is the time that you want to capitalize on that. Now, as it gets a little bit later,